Have you ever heard of a pariah? Somebody who is blamed for all the ills of a particular town or of our particular person? Perhaps one of the most famous pariahs in all of baseball is a man by the name of Steve Bartman. Steve Bartman, he is a Chicago Cubs fan who was there in the year 2004 when the Chicago Cubs were working on getting to the World Series for the first time in 58 years. You see, the Chicago Cubs, they led the Florida Marlins 3-2 in this best-of-7 series, and they were ahead in Game 6, 3-0, with one out in the 8th inning, with a red-hot Mark Pryor on the mound. In short, the Cubs were 5 outs from reaching the World Series for the first time, like I said, in over a half a century, 58 years. At this point, Luis Castillo, he played for the Marlins. He hits the ball, and it goes down the left field line, and it's going out of play. And a fan, who we've all come to know as Steve Bartman, stood up and tried to catch the ball with his bare hands like you do at a baseball game. The ball deflected off his hands and prevented the Cubs' left outfielder, Moises Alou, from possibly making the catch for the second out. After this, the Cubs fell apart and blew the series. When the Florida Marlins were making their comeback after the Steve Bartman incident, many Cubs fans were pointing at Bartman and shouting expletives at him. Bartman had to be escorted away by security as fans screamed at him and as others threw beer and other objects at him. After the game, Bartman even issued a statement explaining that he never knew the ball was in play. He went on to apologize both personally to the Cubs and to Moises Alou, the outfielder. He said his heart was broken. Bartman, he was threatened after this. He was chastised, and even politicians, Jeb Bush in Florida, made a joke out of it as the governor of the state where the Marlins are. He offered Bartman a new house in Florida. This was all because of a foul ball. Things got so bad for him that he went into hiding. 2 nights after the incident, Bartman was too afraid to return to his house, which was under the watch of police. 10 years after the incident, Bartman was still declining interviews and avoiding all media requests. He remained out of the public eye, and he never returned to Wrigley Field. Finally, in 2016, when the Cubs did win their first World Series in 108 years by defeating the Cleveland Indians, Cubs owner Tom Ricketts, 14 years after this infamous attempt at catching a foul ball, reached out to Bartman and presented him his own personalized World Series ring. He brought Bartman back to Wrigley Field, showed him around, and then presented him the ring. This is what he said. On behalf of the entire Cubs organization, we are honored to present the 2016 World Series championship ring to Mr. Steve Bartman. The Cubs told WGN in a statement, "We hope this provides closure on an unfortunate chapter of the story that is perpetuated throughout our quest to win a long-awaited World Series. While no gesture can fully lift the public burden he has endured for more than a decade, we felt it was important. Steve knows he has been and continues to be fully embraced by this organization. After all he has sacrificed, we are proud to recognize Steve Bartman with this gift today." Bartman issued his own statement that day that he was happy to finally be back with his Cubs family. The whole ending of this story, it's reminiscent of the prodigal son. However, I don't know if it's about the father re-embracing the son. I think it might be something that could, in our imaginations, happen after the story, when the older brother finally embraces his younger brother. Here's what happens in the story when the older brother notices that the younger brother has been welcomed back home by his father. Meanwhile, the older son was in the field. When he came near the house, he heard music and dancing, so he called one of the servants and asked him what was going on. "Your brother has come," he replied, "and your father has killed the fattened calf because he has him back safe and sound." The older brother became angry and refused to go in. So his father went out and pleaded with him. But he answered his father, "Look, all these years I've been slaving for you and never disobeyed your orders. Yet you never gave me even a young goat so I could celebrate with my friends. But when this son of yours, who has squandered your property with prostitutes, comes home, you kill the fattened calf?" "My son," the father said, "you are always with me and everything I have is yours. But we had to celebrate and be glad because this brother of yours was dead and is alive again. He was lost and was found. You know, in our lives, we often find it very difficult to let certain people back in, even after we've noticed that they've made amends, that they've repented, that they're living a new life now. Christ welcomes them back. We too are called to welcome them back. We're called to have the same hope that is in God, that all people might be reconciled and all people might become part of the kingdom. Perhaps you have somebody who you have difficulty welcoming back into your life, even as you know that they have returned to the kingdom, even as you know that they have made amends as well as they can and that they've turned their lives around. I encourage you to search yourself, to search your heart, and to ask yourself, can I make amends as well? Just like the Cubs did with Steve Barton and eventually. Thanks for talking about baseball with me.